All right,
So let's kick it off.
We're going to welcome Nicolas Haden now. He's also doing a personal submission.
Hello. Yes, thanks for the opportunity.
You're in Inflation in Wellington. Welcome. Sorry we couldn't be there with you.
Yeah, one of the few who's actually turned up in person. Okay, so what I'd first like to do is go through a couple of the actual drafting points that I made in my submission. So overall, I'm in support of the bill, but there are a couple of clauses I've identified which I don't believe are clear enough or go far enough. The first one being clause 5A, where if the chief executive believes that the legislation they're putting up is consistent with the Regulatory Standards Act, there's actually no requirement on them to detail why they reached that conclusion. All they actually have to do is say, yes, we did it. And that is going to make it quite difficult to do any consistency checks afterwards. So the first recommendation I'm making is that there be some requirements put in there to actually specify why. What was the analysis done to conclude? Because at the moment, you only need to put analysis in if you decide that you want to be inconsistent. The second point is on principle 8K, and that is the one about costs and benefits. At the moment, it's not clear where those costs and benefits lie when the analysis is being conducted. So my recommended changes there are that it refers to benefits for New Zealand and costs of the legislation to public or persons of New Zealand, i.e. to narrow down the scope so it's not necessarily anyone anywhere in the world. It refers to New Zealanders because that's what the New Zealand Parliament's responsibility is. So those are my specific drafting comments. So the other comments I want to make are around the point that this RSB is needed, and it's not just because of poor legislation by previous governments. Even this current government, I think, will have fallen foul of it if this act had been in place. An example here is the Climate Change Response Emissions Trading Scheme Forestry Conversion Amendment Bill, quite a long title. Now that bill impaired the property of landowners who might otherwise have wanted to convert some of their land to forestry. It didn't provide any compensation to those landowners who wanted to do that. It just, their right was taken away. Now, I'm not saying that that is bad law. That legislation may well be entirely justified, but the decision not to compensate that impairment didn't have its reasons documented. And that illustrates the underlying reason why this bill is important, because it imposes a requirement on the government to, as I put it, show your working, which is similar to what you might have in a maths exam or something. It's not sufficient just to come up with an answer. You also need to explain how you got to that answer. And that, to me, is what this RSB will require. And so that's why I support it, because of the requirement to show you're working. Now, some of the other comments I've heard from other submitters have been around alleged inconsistency or not matching up with the Treaty of Waitangi. So what I did is I had a look through the principles to see how consistent they are with the treaty. And if I just run through quickly, so principle A, the rule of law, all of those in there, particularly A2, that's pretty well aligned with Article 2 of the treaty. Equality before the law, that's Article 3. A5, that's pretty much Article 1. We look through some of the others, liberties, that's principle B. Article 2, taking of property, that's Article 2. Some of these others are not addressed, but they're not inconsistent, such as taxes, levies and fees. Then if we go down to 8G, that's Article 1 again. I, Article 2. J, that's not inconsistent. Some of them didn't really have any meaningful applicability in 1840, such as 8K, because cost-benefit analysis didn't really exist in 1840, so you might expect the treaty wouldn't have talked to that. So when I look through it, I don't see anything in there that is inconsistent with the treaty. There's stuff there that's very specific, and there's other stuff that's silent. So I don't see that there is any problem there. And my final point is that to those who are opposed to the bill, particularly persons in other parties, I'd say that there's no need to repeal the bill or the subsequent act entirely. The principles that are put into it can be added or deleted over time. But that should be done in a transparent manner. So again, coming back to this show your working point, if there are some new or better principles, they can be put in the future. Because to say that you want to throw it out in its entirety is effectively saying you don't want to have any principles at all, and that effectively is unprincipled politics. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nicolas. Yeah, very succinct and articulate presentation. So appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thanks.
We're now going to hear from...
Shame there was no questions in there, but it's interesting the philosophy behind his stance on the bill. Like, show your workings. Doesn't it feel like what do you call it? What the maths teacher used to say a lot?
It does kind of feel a bit like, we're hearing from our maths teacher, but I just found that really fascinating because, I mean, anyone that does any work around looking at what comes out of Parliament in terms of the laws that come out of Parliament knows that every law that's passed through the Parliament is accompanied with something called a regulatory impact statement that does in fact show you're working. So I think our submitter here clearly doesn't understand the legal process, or is trying to in fact
Point out
obfuscate.
that the current government's not doing it enough.
Yeah, or is just not happy with the current laws that are going through the Parliament, and is being a little bit cute on that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it an interesting statement, and yes, it's a shame he came to an empty select committee room. I totally can confer how he feels, because I had the same thing when I went to when I went to do a bill on one of the social security reviews legislation, the one that brings in the benefit sanctions for people with disabilities, and just basically makes a complete farce of the system. Yeah. So I'm still waiting to see when what do you call it, Blake gets told, you've got to turn up to a seminar. Oh, driving Miss Daisy can't get you here in time. Oh, we didn't know that. Considering I don't see how else he's going to get there with the fact that it's about the only company he can use for wheelchair taxis.
Yeah.
He
This whole
probably
argument
did.
that he makes as well around inconsistency with the treaty is quite fascinating. I it's just bizarre.
It doesn't feel like it's a troll bill.
No.
You think the person fundamentally believes what they're saying.
Oh no, I think he fundamentally believes what he's saying, but I just think it's so disconnected with reality that it's it's like something that you dream up in some kind of vacuum away from being connected to the twin cultures in our society, Maori and Pākehā. Like it's just like someone has created a spreadsheet where when they've gone like, this is the principles within the bill, and this is the principles of Te Tiriti, and how can we join the two up, and it just it's like a join the dots exercise, and it's just we don't work like that in New Zealand at the moment.
And bills don't necessarily. You don't just. They're not textbook simple.
No.
They are complex.
Not at all.
It's lawmaking. It's not maths equations.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's just very, very simplistic and just not taking into consideration the complexities of how our two cultures live together. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.